COVID isn't completely out of the way just yet, but with another June comes another E3, and even though the shows aren't completely back to normal yet, many a company are back to fight it out between themselves to see who has the best up-and-coming games, apart from PlayStation. Hi, I'm Mahin, a games journalist from East London, and today I'll be ranking some of this year's E3 showcases. As I'm from a TV and production background, I just love watching all these announcements. I'm not only solely judging these on the games announced, but the overall presentations too. Disclaimer, there are way more E3 shows than I expected, and if I were to do all of them, this video would come out even later than it already is. So today, I won't be covering Warhammer Skulls Showcase, the Indie Live Expo, the Guerrilla Collective, the Koch Media Conference, the IGN Expo, the Wholesome Direct, the Gearbox Entertainment Showcase, the Warner Brothers Games Conference, PC Gaming Show, the Future Games Show, the Razer Conference, the Devolver Digital Conference, and the Bandai Namco Conference. Now, that doesn't leave us with much, but I'll start in reverse order. So first up and bottom of the rankings, unfortunately, is Capcom. They spoke about Resident Evil, Re:Verse, Monster Hunter Stories 2, which Nintendo mostly covered anyway, competitive Street Fighter V, and they announced one game, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. In my opinion, if you don't have much to announce, it hurts your reputation by trying to stand next to the bigger titans. Maybe they could have joined with another company or just split their announcements into other companies' E3 presentations. Overall, poor performance from Capcom, but surprisingly this isn't the only one. Now obviously Corona comes into play when talking about some of these first E3 conferences, but next up anyway is, drumroll, Square Enix. One of the standouts for me was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which after the Marvel's Avengers game, I'm sure people weren't the most hyped for this, but in my opinion it looks quite fun. If the showcase was anything indicative of the game, I don't know how many times I can hear the same jokes over and over again. I hate it when they use the same 3-second footage over and over again. Anyone who saw the conference is more than familiar with lines like this.
No, of course I will. I'll call you.
The other thing which caught my interest was Stranger of Paradise, a game being made with Team Ninja and aims to tell the story of how Final Fantasy I started. But everything else was remasters, mobile games, and general waffle to fill out the 46-minute runtime. And then they showed what looked to be a split second of new gameplay from Final Fantasy XVI, but upon some Mahin the Machine video games journalistic research, was not. I wish I saw some Final Fantasy XVI stuff, even if it was just a little. With all the Marvel news, mobile games, remakes, and just general waffle, there's one word to describe this show: chaos. And you know what we do with chaos? Let it be known, I am the biggest Nintendo fanboy. And they were always going to get a little bit of bias, but they are next on this list. Let's start with Kazuya in Smash. I love it. No major leaks happened, it makes sense. I'm just not sure it was semi-final character worthy, but let's just hope the last one is the one to end all ones. I know I'm going to sound like a greedy Nintendo fanboy, but only one character for E3? I do understand that COVID hit everyone differently, and Nintendo are also makers of consoles. That being said, I still wish there were 2 Smash characters in this E3. Now let me just say, the Rabbids series are literally minions on crack, and if Rabbid Peach wasn't enough to get this game, the relatable can't be fucked energy of Rabbid Rosalina is the reason I'll be getting the sequel. Also, it really was about time we got a compilation game of all the best Mario Party boards and minigames. It's just a shame I had to waste my money on Super Mario Party first, but I'm definitely trading that one in for this. This is a public service announcement. Please, fellow cheapskate gamers, buy your games on cartridge. Now that brings me on to the next topic in this Nintendo E3 presentation, which is Wario Ware. There's a new one. And now, what's the point of having so much packed into the Joy-Con if a new WarioWare game is just gonna ignore it all? Smooth Moves was one of my favorite games ever because of the wacky, weird, simple yet random fun gameplay. And now we're just playing as a character in each minigame. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad to see a lot of these characters back, but damn, I wish it was more of a Smooth Moves too. Now, we can't not talk about Breath of the Wild 2. Wow, this trailer was short, but at this point I'll take anything we can get. And at least they showed something, which I can't say for a certain Metroid game that was announced 4 years ago. But anyways, back to Breath of the Wild. Let me just say, can we please get actual temples this time round? I hated seeing the same interior decor of the divine beasts and the shrines over and over again. I got an idea. Why don't we get this guy to do the interior decor? Hey. Also, can we make this game a lot darker in tone, please? Like, this dark, and this dark? Apart from that, the trailer looks pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie, but other highlights during the show for me were Metroid Dread, a port of Life of Strange 1 and 2, a port of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, a port of a bunch of Danganronpa games, a reboot of Advance Wars, and a cloud version of Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, the Nintendo Switch seems like the perfect place to be if you want to play shit versions of good games. Also, that does sound like a lot of games, but if you get rid of the remakes, if you get rid of the games we already knew about, the truly only new games announced were Metroid Dread and Wario Ware Let's Get It Together. More like Nintendo, get it together. Now, in between now and Breath of the Wild 2 sequel, there's really not many heavy hitters of games coming out. I mean, apart from Pokemon, but like, I wish Pokemon just did their direct with Nintendo. It would have skyrocketed this direct higher. In my opinion, those were the bad ones out of the way with. Next up is Ubisoft. I never realized how diverse of a company Ubisoft was until I saw this presentation. They went from killing grannies to this. Ubisoft's presentation was truly diverse. It kept me interested in not just the way that was announcement after announcement, it challenged how far a modern day gamer's interests can span. Of course, it had some things in there about Rainbow Six and Assassin's Creed, but then it went to Just Dance and one of the most unexpected collabs of all of E3, which was Todrick Hall in Just Dance 2022. So he's doing a new version of his song Nails, Hair, Hips, Heels, which is a club anthem, I love it. But like, what lyrics is he going to change and how is it going to be for modern day gamers, like grenades, bombs, kills, deaths? Now when it comes to TV and film, and when those industries try to do anything about games, it comes across cringy and a flop. However, when the gaming industry takes on TV and film, it's usually much better. For example, Mythic Quest. Mythic Quest is one of my favorite new shows, and at first I was like, this is going to be cringy, this is going to be stupid, but as it's being made partly by Ubisoft, it doesn't try too hard to appeal to gamers, it just naturally does. It's first and foremost an office comedy with a few deep moments here and there, and the fact that it's in a game studio often comes secondary, and the few gaming related jokes it does have, they aren't annoying at all. And then to top it all off, at the end of the whole Ubisoft presentation, they end with Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, an Avatar game. One out of the blue random announcement, and this kind of thing is what I expect from E3, and it was the cherry on top of a great conference. Thank you for putting up with this video until now. I think you can tell the FPS may be a little bit better, but thanks for sticking with it this long. And you know, if I was in this, if I was in my own ranking, I'd be fully at the bottom. But speaking of the ranking, let me continue. Next up is Xbox and Bethesda. Now, whereas Ubisoft have like loads of different fingers in many different pies, Xbox and Bethesda, they're all about the games, which isn't a bad thing. They just, you know, they do what they do best, and boy, are they the best at it. I will say something about a live conference on a stage just brings me back to the days before Corona, when all these shows would happen live with an audience, and for some reason I really enjoy that. Battlefield 2042 looks crazy, smaller game 12 minutes, has a star-studded cast, Psychonauts looks trippy AF, and they had a lot of other announcements I know people are going to love. And you know sometimes how it can be, like you're watching E3 with your mates, maybe you have a few beers in you, and sometimes there's a few certain things that just get me. And like the last time I shed a tear over an announcement was Unraveled. And for some reason, I don't know why, it was the music, it was the views, it was just the overall feel of the Flight Sim DLC that just did it to me again for some reason. Maybe it was Corona too, like not being able to go anywhere, not being able to go on holiday, that maybe just seeing the planes, maybe just seeing the planes and the views, just, I don't know, it just got me, man. But enough of that soppy shit. Of course, Halo made a big impact, and even though I don't have an Xbox Series X or S, I cannot wait for this game. Halo is one of those games that always feels really familiar between games, and they look very, obviously they look similar, but it's just the knowing it's happening and the small additions and changes that make it the multiplayer giant that it is today. And I'm glad they're not changing anything too crazy. In my opinion, the Xbox and Bethesda and the Ubisoft conferences were a close call to me, and the thing that pushed it over just a little is that after every announcement that Xbox and Bethesda had, there was a little thing that said coming to Xbox Game Pass day one, and that was 27 out of the 30 games that they showed. The 3 games that aren't coming to Xbox Game Pass day one are Far Cry 6, Battlefield 2042, and Diablo 2 Resurrected. And I mean, out of 30, that's not bad. Next year, if they keep on doing this next year, the novelty would have worn off on me by then. But for now, I'm still in shock at just how many games are coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. And finally, the best show at E3 this year, 2021, in my opinion, is Summer Games Fest. First, it started with the Ant and Dec of video games, the one and only Jeff Keighley hosting the show. And something about Jeff Keighley just puts me at ease. I just know something good is about to happen and that I'm in safe hands. A standout for me was definitely Wonderlands. I've never played a Borderlands game before, but just the cast alone got me interested. Andy Samberg, Wanda Sykes, Will Arnett. Personally, I like the fact that games are now using big name actors. Games already make more money than films, and now it's starting to show. And you know how I said the TV and film industries are cringy AF when it comes to games? Well, nothing says this better than the movie Free Guy, which had a trailer during the show. It stars Ryan Reynolds escaping his video game, original, and it just looks cringy. It just looks so bad. There's a bit where people are describing him like, he's so cool, he's so strong, and then it cuts to a girl and she's like, and he's cute, and it's just give me a break. It's just typical movie BS that just doesn't fly as much in the video game world, and I'm so glad we don't get it as often as this. I'm glad we don't get any of this cringy stuff. But rant over, I do love how in other ways the show was like the Ubisoft Forward with a more diverse structure. Instead of it being trailer after trailer, there were performances from Japanese Breakfast, Weezer, and some orchestra doing Sonic music, and it was just such a nice change of pace. And sometimes it can be overwhelming and a lot to take in with constant fast-paced action from all these trailers one after the other. Buy this, buy this, buy this. So these performances and interviews also with Jeff Goldblum and some other developers, it was really nice to see the whole show spread out evenly, and it was big. There was a lot of announcements, but there was also a lot of stuff in between that for me, I just love that pacing. Another standout for me was House of Ashen. It seems like such an original concept. It's wrapped in something we all know. It's an FPS. And I was hooked as soon as Jeff said American and Iraqi soldiers stuck in a cursed temple. that just seems so cool to me. And finally, there's no talking about this without mentioning Elden Ring. I'm someone who tends to hate medieval settings. I've watched all of Game of Thrones. I can put up with it, but I just tend to not really like medieval settings that much. But this game has so many unique supernatural elements and its monster design and in its abilities and in its setting. It doesn't seem just plain medieval. It seems like something even I would enjoy. I'm not gonna lie, there was maybe one point just before the end, before Elden Ring, where it got maybe just a slightly tad bit boring, but for the most part it was nice pacing, interesting reveals. The fact that it was on a stage added something special too. It was just near perfection in my opinion. And that's it. That's my rankings of E3 2021. Hopefully next year's a bit, I know next year will be a lot better, and let me know what your rankings are for E3 in the comments below. Also, follow me on Twitter. I'm at machine_Mahin. I stream twice a week. I had to think about that. Twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. BST. I have a radio show on the first Sunday of every month at 8 a.m. on Sundays about video game music. It's called Up the Bits. I'll link that also below. And follow me on Twitter for all my article work. And with that all out of the way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.